some fancy tape you got there.
Well, guys, thank you so much for being here. You know, we're in Dallas, Texas, at the detention center here, and while we are celebrating 3 individuals for their heroic actions taken on a very dark and bad day, something that should have never taken place, it's the irony of this is that each day we go after the worst of the worst, and that's what the ICE agents and that's what DHS and our other 21 components do on a daily basis. We focus on keeping our homeland safe. But today we get a pause for a little bit and we recognize the best of the best. See, the left, they want to demonize our ICE officers every single day, but really they're enforcing laws that these individuals that want to demonize them, the congressmen and senators and even governors that want to go out and say they're breaking the Constitution and that they're, you know, I'll call them all these horrific names. The truth is not one thing they can point to where they say they ever broke the Constitution. There's not one thing that they can say that they're doing that is outside the law that they are mandated to do, that Congress has the one that mandated them to do so. They enforce the laws that were passed by our nation's leaders. And when we get a pause for just a second and recognize the activities of 3 individuals that were willing to risk their lives to the same people that were simply being arrested just sometimes an hour before or the day before, but they are being processed here in Dallas, Texas. The fact that they're willing to sacrifice their lives for individuals that's in their custody would speak volumes to what type of law enforcement we have that work in ICE and at DHS. And for me, being the Secretary of DHS, it's an honor to be here today. In fact, in some cases, I feel like I shouldn't even be the one standing up here. I wasn't Secretary at the time, and nor was I here during that tragic moment when 17 shots were fired from a rooftop just a few hundred feet away. But I'm honored to be invited here today, and a guy that responded quickly, that was only a few moments away when the gunfire started, who came in without hesitation. The man that's going to actually be the one that should be presenting the awards, but you're going to be calling the names out. He's going to come up here and speak for a moment, and then we're going to present the awards to these 3 brave individuals. So Robert, why don't you take over the mic from here?
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Robert Serna. I'm a Deputy Field Office Director for ICRO, and I was the first manager that was at the scene on September 24th. You know, September 24th, I remember that morning, it was supposed to be, you know, a busy morning because we had about 70 new surge hire employees coming in, deportation officers coming in. So we were going to be pretty busy that morning. I was coming to the office a little bit earlier than usual when I got notified about, you know, shots being fired at our office. Now I was only about 5 miles away. It didn't take me that long to get here, but just, you know, just arriving to the scene, not knowing exactly what I was going to encounter. Yeah, I've been doing this job. I've been working for, you know, immigration with INS and CBP and ICE for about 27 years, and you know, we train all the time for different situations, but you know, this tragic situation that we had on the 24th is just, you know, it's a senseless act. It was an act targeted, you know, an act of violence targeted towards us, towards ICE. You know, that morning, 3 detainees that were in one of our detention vans were struck by the sniper. The sniper thought that, you know, he was striking a van with our employees, but he actually hit three of our detainees. There was 10 others in that vehicle. At the time, we did have help from some of our other partners, federal partners. So, I do want to thank that help. And we had HSI, ICE HSI, we had FBI, FPS, we had the Department of War, we had Texas DPS, and then I'd like to thank Dallas PD for responding. I remember getting here in the morning, witnessing our officers go to action and helping the individuals that were wounded with gunshots. They were treating to them. They were taking them to the ambulances so that they can be rushed to the hospital. And at the same time, we still didn't know if there was still an active shooter, if there was only one shooter, if there was another suspect that we weren't aware of. I do want to thank Dallas PD for having their SWAT team arrived here. Their SWAT team cleared our office, our whole building, and they assisted with the aftermath. Now, the aftermath, it took us a while back to get this office back into the shape that it is right now. There was a lot of windows that were shot at. We have 15 windows in the back. 7 of those were shot at with multiple rounds. So you could see there's that frame there was up on a wall. Shot went through a window, went through a wall, and then hit that frame and that glass. It went through, and then it was embedded into like the middle of our office. So there was a lot of carnage, but we overcame that, and I'm proud to be here in Dallas doing the work that I'm doing, and I'm proud of the team that we have that goes out there every day to do the work that they're doing. I'd like to say that there were many forms of heroism that day. Today, I am honored and proud to welcome Department of Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin, who is here to recognize 3 of these, heroes. I know he said, the best of the best, and that's correct. I'll go ahead and I'll start off with recognizing Deportation Officer Andres Goche. Dio Goche demonstrated extraordinary courage during the active shooter incident, making the initial 911 call and providing critical information. He risked his safety to extract multiple detainees from a transport van under fire, enabling them to receive life-saving care and stabilizing them until advanced medical help arrived. Andres Goche. All right. Deportation Officer Marco Solis. Dio Solis responded under active threat, administering life-saving first aid to 2 critically injured detainees. He conducted immediate trauma assessments, provided emergency care, and coordinated with responders to ensure safe casualty movement. Marco Solis.
I was worried that wasn't going to fit around you.
Enforcement and Removal Assistant Christopher Pine. ERA Pine administered life-saving first aid to 2 detainees, establishing a casualty care area under duress. He provided direct emergency interventions, coordinated with responders, and sustained patient stability until transfer, directly contributing to the preservation of life. ERA Christopher Pine. And now I'll pass it on. I'll introduce Congressman Brandon Gill.
Thank you. And first of all, I want to thank Secretary Mullin for taking the time to come out to Dallas and to these genuine heroes for our country and everything that they've been doing. ICE and Border Patrol are on the front lines of not only defending American sovereignty, but keeping our communities safe and ensuring that murderers and rapists and gangbangers are not running loose within our neighborhoods. These are the guys who are making sure that America stays America, that it is a place where we can raise our kids safely and in communities that are conducive to American flourishing. And we're so thankful for the work you guys have done. Over the past several months, we've heard increasingly, really the past year, we've heard increasingly deranged rhetoric from the other side of the aisle, and I hear it every single day in Washington. I know you guys feel the impacts of that, referring to ICE and Border Patrol as Nazis, as the Gestapo, and far, far worse. And eventually, some lunatic is going to hear that and believe that they are the next Dietrich Bonhoeffer and act on that rhetoric, and that's exactly what happened here. That's the kind of stuff that we are sick of, that makes your lives more dangerous and puts America at risk. These, as it happens, the same people spewing this rhetoric are the same people who are holding up funding for ICE and for Border Patrol. They're given a binary choice. They can either fund ICE and Border Patrol or, on the other hand, make your jobs more dangerous. And Democrats have routinely, for the past several weeks, chosen the latter. So what I'd like to do is say thank you guys so much for the work that y'all are doing here to keep this country safe, to keep our border secure. You guys are true, true heroes, and we appreciate it. And thank you, Secretary Mullin, and of course we're thankful to the Trump administration for fulfilling their promise to keep our country safe.
Thank you, Brandon. And I want to point out again that, while we focus daily on getting the worst out the worst, or worst of the worst, we're definitely celebrating the best of the best. And it's frustrating to me when you hear the rhetoric of the left, and they're demonizing law enforcement for simply doing their job. And I'd like to point out that you see the individuals behind me. They're willing to run in and risk their lives for those that were under their protection. Those that the left want to demonize them for arresting because they broke our nation's laws. These three and many others were willing to run towards the gunfire, put their life at risk, put their families at risk of losing their loved ones. And I point out all the time that I guarantee you their family loves them as much as my family loves me, except they are here every single day upholding the standard of law that puts their lives at danger, and they're willing to do their job, in some cases for free, because the Democrats are still not wanting to pay them. And they haven't missed a day. They continue to show up. They continue to do their job. They're continuing enforcing the nation's laws. And as secretary for the last 8 weeks, I've never heard them complain. And that's why I say I'm honored to be the secretary over I think, the greatest group of federal employees, period. They're literally willing to do their job for free, and that's protect my yard, protect your backyard, and protect our homeland. And so, guys, thank you once again for doing that. You represent what we know is true, but unfortunately the American people, sometimes all they hear is the rhetoric of the left. And I'll tell you truly, I pray for you guys, I pray for your family, and I mean this sincerely. Love you. Thank you so much for what you do. With that, I'll stop, and we'll open it for questions. I'm going to ask Brandon to join me up here too, the congressman that really overdressed for this meeting, but it's okay. I mean, I appreciate it. You look good. I mean, I told somebody one time that, you know, the difference between my suit and your suit is, right, is when I'm wearing a suit, I make the suit look good. This suit makes you look good. I'm just playing. So let's open it for questions, and we'll be willing to fill anything you have.
Secretary Mullin, Brooke
Yes.
Miller with
Yes.
Fox News. We see what's going on in Europe with Delaney
Yes.
Hall. One officer was just bit in the arm. Then you had another young agitator who was just arrested for telling the officer he's going to kill him and his family.
That's right.
What are you specifically doing to protect these ICE officers who are just trying to do their jobs?
Well, first of all, we have zero tolerance. The president and I have talked about this. If you verbally assault our officers, if you attack our vehicles, if you attack our property, you attack the person themselves, we will arrest you. We have absolutely zero issue with you exercising your First Amendment in a peaceful protest. But when you're threatening the lives of an officer, that's verbal assault. When you threaten the lives of their family, that's verbal assault. When you spit on an officer, when you put hands on an officer, when you touch our vehicles, that is assaulting federal property and assaulting a federal officer, and we have zero tolerance. We will arrest you. What I think the best thing that's happened at the detention center in New Jersey right now is the fact that state police finally was able to respond when the Governor Sherrill allowed them to. And it wasn't that state police and local law enforcement didn't want to help. They just were told not to help. We see over and over again in these sanctuary cities and sanctuary states where law enforcement officers, they want to do their job. That's why they signed up to do their job. But so often you have radical left leadership that doesn't allow them to do so. But when they did show up, they quickly realized these aren't peaceful protesters that the radical left politicians were telling you about. These were individuals that were well organized. We've arrested individuals that came in from Portland, not from New Jersey, came from Portland to lead. We've seen that they've been well supplied. We've seen Antifa flags being flown. And once the state police came out, and which, by the way, awesome group of guys, they understand crowd control very well, and they started pushing the individuals back after they warned them, started making arrests. You saw that the situation quickly got under control. And for us, when we first started calling, they were simply saying they didn't have the resources. And it's interesting to me that they finally found the resources and started clearing their streets. We can control our building. We can provide security for our own building. But if the city and state streets, that is their job to do. However, we will do it if we have to protect our employees, to protect the detainees coming in and out, and protecting the property if required to. But right now we have great cooperation, and we hope that continues.
And last question is your message to young men and women who might see what's going on and they decide they don't want to enter this force and become an ICE officer because of all the hatred and violence that comes along with it?
Right now, our recruiting numbers are pretty strong. Regardless of what the left it likes to say out there, people want to join this mission. It's the greatest mission, period, and it's to protect our homeland. And so regardless of the rhetoric, young men and young women, men and women from other law enforcement is coming in and joining. We're providing the training. We're providing the resources they need to do their job, and we're going to continue to do so. And as I said before, as Secretary of Homeland, it's my greatest honor to be able to represent them, and we want to thank them every single day for doing the job that they do.
Secretary Marissa Adamas with CBS News Texas. Just curious what you have to say to the families of the victims. I mean, they died in the custody of the United States.
What victims are you referring to?
In this shooting.
Oh, to here?
Last night shooting, yeah.
Okay, I first of all, it should have never happened. The rhetoric that the left continues to want to spew out leads to what Brandon said, the congressman said, to this type of reaction, because when you spew it enough, eventually you're going to get someone that's mentally unstable that's going to take those words literally and not realize that it's just political theater. It's just for them to get clicks and for their social media to maybe get some attention. I tell people that in political business, people will hurt you a lot to gain themselves a little. And when the rhetoric we're hearing from the left put people's lives at risk, which has happened here, we're sorry. What we did as officers is we responded and did everything we could to save as many lives that we possibly could during that tragic day, but it should have never taken place. Yes.
You suggested that you're going to consider appointing CBP officers from airports you consider sanctuary jurisdictions. Is there any specific plan to do that in the works right now?
What I specifically said in New Jersey was, since the state police and the local police says they don't have the resources to be able to respond, then we're going to have to get our resources from someplace else, because we're going to protect our men and women that work for us. And if they're not willing to do that, then we're going to pull resources too. And to pull those resources, the closest resource we have is our CPB officers at the airport. We can flex with those individuals, bring them out. They're licensed officers. We can help provide perimeters, provide security, and then we can allow our SRT to be able to go out and start clearing the streets and doing crowd control. When that takes place, I have to make a decision on my resources, just like the governor and the mayor was making decisions based on their resources. And if we do that by pulling them out of processing flights going into international airports, we will do that, because we have to have resources too. Keep in mind, we're still shut down. So our resources may not be where they should be, but our men and women are still showing up and doing their job.
In place right now, where this is
right now, yes. Do we have a plan to initiate it? Yes, we have a plan to initiate it if required. We're not required to do it because the state is cooperating with us, and I hope the governor will continue to cooperate with us. The mayor has been very cordial to work with too. The chief of police has been very cordial. And as long as we continue to have this partnership with local and state law enforcement, then there will be no need to do so.
To follow up on that, the Transportation Secretary has been critical of this plan. Have you spoken with him about it?
Actually, that's not accurate. The Secretary Duffy and I have been in communication on this. He understands. There was it was misreported out there saying that I was going to stop international flights from coming in, and I believe what he said is that I don't have the authority to do that. I don't. But I do have the authority to pull officers out if I have to, especially for security purposes for other federal officers, because we use, just like ICE can respond to airports when TSA was shut down, and you saw ICE officers going in and helping process and helping with ground control. We flex with ICE officers at that time to the airport. When ICE is needing help, we can also flex with personnel that's at the airports, meaning the CBP officers, and bring them out to help ICE.
Yes. Former Border Patrol official Gregory Mavina has been critical, saying of your.
I never met the guy. I never met the guy.
Reaction to what he said about
No, he's irrelevant to me. I don't know who he is. What else, guys?
Question about the World Cup?
Yes, sir.
How the preparations been going? Has it been challenging? And about here, we're watching a game here in Dallas in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. So FIFA's great. We have 9 games coming up here. Semifinals is going to be the last game. First game is going to be the June 14th against Japan and the Netherlands. Phenomenal facility. I mean, it's phenomenal. We just got in walking through the facility. We're doing all the preparations. We did get a little bit behind because the Democrats had a shutdown for 76 days, plus that's the 4th shutdown we've had in a year. This preparation has been going on for quite some time. We were behind on getting some federal grants out to local law enforcement, but I tell you, the work never stopped. This is what law enforcement does, regardless if the Democrats want to pay them or not. They continue to do their mission. They signed up to do a job because they were called to do it, not because they absolutely got into it for the pay. You'll see most officers aren't getting very wealthy. They're just providing a living, but they're willing to do their job for free. So even during the shutdown, preparation didn't stop. We have cooperation from federal, agencies, all through DHS and some through DOJ and through local and state. We have UAS technology going up. We have perimeters being pushed out. We're having the site being completely secured. So if you've had an opportunity to take a look at it, it's pretty impressive. And we repeat this, by the way, through 11 different cities. We're going to have 78 Super Bowls in 38 days here inside the United States. The Super Bowl has around 250 million people that watch it. We're going to have 1.4 billion watching the FIFA games, and then we're going to have a little over between 5 and 7 international visitors to the United States, and we're going to be able to highlight the greatness of the United States along the way. So we're excited about it. A lot of preparation. The first game in the U.S. is the 12th, June 12th in L.A. We'll be there, and then for the next 38 days, I expect my wife is going to see very little of me.
Secretary, I know you keep saying.
Let me go over here. Go ahead. Sorry, I heard a question come up.
Last question.
Oh, okay.
Secretary, I know you keep saying the left, but what type of data do we have to support these claims on attacks on agents, and how are we tracking that across the country?
What do you mean data? If I talk about percentages, death threats on ICE agents went up over 8,000%. Vehicle assaults went up over 3,300%. We've had assault on officers have went up over 1,500%. So that's real data. And when you start talking about the left, we see everybody in this room that's watched the news, 5 minutes of the news anytime in the last year, have heard the rhetoric that they keep spewing about our agents simply enforcing our nation's laws. And so you have to contribute that directly to what they're saying. When you see some of the activity that's going on, you see what the left is repeating, and then what you hear these crowds start chanting, you know it's coming directly from them. And it's very reckless on their behalf. They are literally spilling Americans' blood because of what they're saying. And there's no question about it. Every time an incident like this takes place, it is directly related to the hatred that they're doing for no other reason but to get some type of political attention. Because they know that our officers that work within DHS and work across the nation, be it state, local, or federal, is enforcing our laws that these elected officials passed. They're doing it every single day, making sure that we get home safe, making sure even the ones that are spewing the most ridiculous and most hateful things, making sure those individuals still get home safe before they'll get home safe to their family. And that's why we should hold these individuals, not just the three here, but every single day we should be celebrating law enforcement, understanding the risks that they put their lives at every day to make sure we're able to walk our streets, drive our streets, and go to work and get home safe every day.
Are you considering having your wife designated as a special government
No.
employee? If so,
No, that's an absolute rag. That's lied absolutely about it. My wife doesn't want to be in the public eye at all.
All right, thank you, press.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I wasn't going to pick on Richard. What was that?
Do what? Thank you. We decided that. Thank you so much.